When you view my videos, I often receive hundreds of career-related comments and questions. Today, I'm excited to welcome Kalia Rouse, founder of Real Well Media, the team behind much of the content you see here on my channel. Kalia will ask me some more personal questions about career mapping, giving you a unique insight into my own professional journey. Hi, I'm Ginny Clarke, a conscious leadership expert who spent 2 decades in executive recruiting and talent management. Having worked with giants like Google, Spencer Stuart, I discovered that the secret to transformative leadership lies in the 5 dimensions of conscious leadership. And I'm here to help you unlock your full potential. Join me on this channel as we embark on an honest and vulnerable journey together to become the kind of leader that genuinely inspires organizational transformation. I've got a little career boosting secret for you. If you want the inside scoop on leadership plus some juicy tips and hot takes you won't hear anywhere else, I've got a newsletter that's basically your personal career coach in your inbox. Just click the link below in the description to join in. Oh, and if you're loving this content, I know you are, click that subscribe button. It's like giving me a virtual fist bump, ensuring you won't miss out on any future videos.
Well, Ginny, we're at the end of this series about career mapping, which has been so fun. And I think one of the number one questions I had on my mind when I met you, because your book is chock full of information, so go get it.
Thank you for the pitch.
What made you write that? And, what was your mind state around, career mapping and all the things that had kind of led you to the point where you decided to write the book?
Yeah. Trying to remember the exact number of years because it took me at least 3 years before I started writing it. I've been accumulating ideas, and the genesis was because working at Spencer Stuart, the executive search firm where I was for 12 years, I was really, I looked out of the window one day. I was on the 34th floor in Chicago in the Equitable building, and I remember looking out on the plaza on the street, and I thought, I'm breathing rarefied air. I'm seeing things that very few people get to see, and as the only Black woman in that office, the headquarters, I thought, I feel as though I have an obligation to share with people who may never become executives. That doesn't matter, but what I was learning was still relevant to so many. Yeah. And especially as a Black woman, I just felt, we haven't always had the same opportunities as others. And so I wanted to put something together that was practical and useful for everyone. And at the time, my son was young. When I left there, he was only 13. And when the book came out, he was just a couple years older. But I wanted to do something with him in mind that would be relevant for when he came out of college and got into the workforce. And so, yeah, it wasn't a bestseller necessarily, but I'm thinking about, after I do my next one, I'm thinking about coming back and doing a reboot of career mapping, because I do think more people need to understand what I'm talking about here.
They certainly do. I think one of the things that stands out to me, not just about the book, but who you are, and I remember thinking this when we first met, you're so far ahead of your time. And I think that's why the book hits so good today, and the advice and the YouTube videos and the clips, all the things that we've done, it hits so well because they're for now. And I think a lot of our society just wasn't ready. And now they're ready for it. And as a result, you've amassed this huge following and people are really receiving everything well, which is awesome. But kind of a segue into that is, you talked about in one of the videos having an old school approach to networking, and much of the career mapping book, when it comes to finding a job, is really through your network.
Yes.
There's a video, 8 people you need to have in your network to build, to find your next job. So with that old school approach, how much do you think is relevant today, given that times have changed so much, maybe from the time you were doing that to where we are today? How much of it do you feel translates, and what do you think of things now?
It's all still true. To me, it's a classic. And I'm not just saying that because I wrote it. I'm watching this.
Yeah.
One of the benefits of having worked with you is that I am reaching people cross-generationally through social media. And I read a lot of the comments and questions that I get from people. I have a son who's 28 years old. He's 10 years out of college, 6 years out of college, 10 years out of high school. And so I'm involved and aware of the career challenges that he's facing.
Yeah.
They're the same thing to a large extent. And I fear that his generation and maybe even some of the older generations before you get to mine are still looking for some other fast, quick way to do things. Yeah. And they're not paying attention to the humanness, which is a theme in so much what I'm talking about. Yeah. We got to get back to basics. We need to start looking each other in the eye. We need to start building relationships that come from a caring, authentic place. And so the networking is that we need each other. There's never going to be a substitute. I don't care how many algorithms, how much AI. I'm watching, these biggest companies in the world using these to identify their talent, especially at the leadership level, and it's not working well. I mean, the statistics are saying we don't have good leaders in place in any sector anywhere in the world. I mean, we have people who are in leadership roles who aren't good at that. And people are suffering as a result. We've been paying attention to the wrong qualifications and characteristics among these leaders. And they're left to their own devices. They're not doing well. So I'm saying come back to competencies. Come back to an assessment that only another human can do, who might be trained and who cares and is clear about who is this person? How do they treat other people? Let's start there before we just get so impressed by the degrees and the experiences that they've had, because that ain't working.
I love that, because you have a great video about reading energy. And, I think so many times we discount the feeling that we get from somebody.
That's right.
Whether good or bad.
Yeah.
And you've been teaching all of us how really to tap into the non-tangible side of all of these interactions. Yeah. Which is such a strong indicator, I think, of how you network with someone, how you make decisions,
Well, it is. I mean, we want to be around people who feel good, and we discount that. And again, we have bought into all of these placeholders and these other sort of contrived mechanisms that we place value in that aren't serving us well. Yeah. And you know me, I'm big into consciousness. I've become quite intuitive. I always have been, actually. But through meditation, I see things, and that's been my superpower and why I was a good recruiter. I don't care what you said to me. I felt you, and I could tell if you were disingenuous. I could tell. I knew these things. Yeah. And I think more people need to develop that. We all have the capacity for it, but part of it means you have to shut out some of the noise, and that means scrolling on social media. Well, I do it too. Trust me, I've gotten kind of hooked. My son's like, turn it off, Mom. But we have to shut out the noise and really discern and look into one another's eyes and touch people from time to time and express yourself. And if we can't even care enough to give someone a smile when you walk down the street, it saddens me to think how much people will look away. Or if they see a homeless person, they'll look away and want to walk far around them. Yeah. And that lack of compassion has become quite contagious to our detriment.
100%.
So, and people separate these issues from the workplace, but you don't understand. We're bringing all of that energy into the workplace. And so it's no wonder that we have this high level of disengagement, that we have, all of these other things that are plaguing poor mental health, disengagement, high turnover, attrition. I mean, all these things that are happening, it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. New leadership and people understanding, which is part of so much of what I want to impart. People in what I refer to as the 95%, right? Everybody else who might not be in a leadership role, you have agency. Yeah. You can control, you can contribute, you can offer another way by modeling it, by insisting upon it, by asking for it. So that's what I want to see, and that's why this is so personal for me.
It's so beautiful. I think for me personally, just working with you and being your friend and seeing all the changes, I feel like your work has really helped me not to betray myself and not to move past these feelings that we all get. Yeah. And then I feel like your voice has really been a sounding board for so many people who've done that for so long. Yeah. And so you see people in the comments just kind of commiserating and like processing, because we all know that this is happening, but you've really given us language.
Well, so many people I've come to understand are saying, I thought it was just me. And I've been there where I thought it was just me, because I've been in these places. I've been the only woman. I've been the only Black person. I've been the only tall person. I've been the only whatever, the odd person out, where people are kind of wondering where you're coming from. And you try to contort yourself into being something different that is the norm. And at some point I just said, I'm not doing that. I'm not a man. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm going to be me. Yeah. And it's so liberating. And I found that it actually accelerated aspects of my career, because I wasn't living in fear. Yeah. I'm like, take me or leave me. This is who I am. I'm a single mother. When I was at Spencer Stewart, I'm a single mother. This is my background. This is what I do. These are my priorities. This is what I want. And this is what I can contribute. Now, take it or leave it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could go into so many segments, but I feel like, you are someone who is just so confident and such a force, but like in the kindest, most loving way. And, throughout your career, were you always like that, or was it a progression, or, you got some experiences on your belt? I got grays, but you got some grays.
I got the white. Yes, I earned everything.
I'm working on mine, so were you always like that? I think for a lot of our younger people, like myself, who are just still figuring it out, we're like, we look at someone like you and we're like, did she ever suffer from imposter syndrome, or did she?
I think so. We didn't call it that back in the day. But I had my doubts.
Yeah.
I had amazing parents who supported me until, I lost them when I was in my 30s, but they were older when they married and had me and my brother. But they were just amazing. And my dad would call every Sunday morning and talk to me. He was like my own private coach. My mom was a force herself. My brother, a good guy. He's kind of weird, but he's a good guy. And we still have each other. He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
And having that nuclear family was incredibly helpful. I came here, I think I've lived many lifetimes, and I came here to be who I am. Trust me, I've been beat down in the process to come back up and to realize and to stand in all of my power. And even at this age, well over 50, I am there, and I'm not done, because this is part of my calling. And I'm fortified when I see people like you who can say, oh, I can do that. I can be more of who I came here to be. Yeah. I mean, and amplify that, multiply that 1,000-fold over and over exponentially. Now we've got a different civilization. We have a different way that we live in support of one another, as opposed to putting one another down and doubting ourselves. It's like, oh, you're way different from me. Let me lean in and learn more about you because you're different from me. Yeah. Because there are millions of ways to be, and we need all those millions of ways to create something that's newer and better than what we've been existing in.
For make me cry. Me cry. I mean, it's so rare. Even I think it's very healing to hear you say that. Yeah. Especially representing the generation that you come from, where it feels so rigid often, and they're having a tough time passing the mantle on to other people. And to hear you say that is so healing. Yeah. And I'm sure hopefully you'll be healing to all of you. Yeah. Kind of like to wrap up this conversation, there's a few videos in this section around being an A student, or kind of dealing with the complex of coming out of school, or even the notion of like, hey, I have to go back to school to get this, or dealing with the insecurities of that. As someone who is in the throes of like making a hard career choice right now, what advice would you give for them, knowing that you have this book and you lean in on competencies and you can build your network? Where would you tell them to maybe put where's their North Star? Where are they looking at to get
their North Star is right here. It's right here. Yeah. It's who are you? Because and don't think me oblivious to the changes. I actually am well aware of the changes that are happening in the world and in the workplace. And to me, this is the greatest opportunity ever to affect change. Yeah. Because frankly, my belief tells me, my experience tells me that so many of the infrastructure, the inner workings of the workplace are broken and need to be rebuilt. And so we need different thinkers. We need you who might be looking at this place going, I don't think I can do this. No, we need you to come in and make it better. We need you to, because the people that are sitting in the leadership roles who we think have control over it, their interests aren't aligned to fix it because it's not to their advantage.
Yeah.
So come in and see beyond the program into a new program.
Yeah.
I watched The Matrix over and over. It's one of my favorite.
Love it.
We're all living in a program. Yeah. Rewrite it, this next generation. And don't dismiss my generation. I'm a boomer, all right? So call us in too, because we have a lot of wisdom. We didn't understand nor did we believe what we could do to affect change, especially now, but we see things so clearly, many of us do. So let's lock arms cross-generationally and affect and create something that's really, really new and different for your children, for your baby who's coming.
Yeah.
Let's do that because this isn't working.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time. And we get to be the ones to do it, all of us.
Thank you, Ginny.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. And yeah, tune into this series. It's fantastic.
And thank you for all that you've done in getting my message out there in a beautiful way. I'm really grateful.
Thank you.
Dad. I get it. Taking that first step can feel daunting. I've been there too. But here's the thing. You've got strengths you might not even realize yet. I've put together a free career mapping framework to help you uncover those hidden talents and chart your own path forward. It's not about changing everything overnight. It's about starting to see your potential clearly. Ready to explore? The framework's waiting for you. Just check the link in the description. Your future self will thank you for taking this small but powerful step today.